Welcome back to the series. We break down each team's schedule. I give you my thoughts on the 2023 season. Happy Memorial Day. Hope you guys are enjoying it, whatever it may be doing, vacation, camping. Hope you guys are enjoying it. But for this one, we're going to be wrapping up the NFC East with the Washington Commanders. And for this one, I'm going to be very, very harsh on them. And if you want to put in the comments that I'm overreacting and I'm a hater, I guess I wouldn't have a problem with that. But I'm just not confident in the quarterback position, especially with them giving Sam Howell the full control over it, being the starter. I don't think he's going to finish the full season, especially with them signing Jacoby Brissett. I think that it will be sooner rather than later that Sam Howell is benched and his time in Washington will be done, along with Ron Rivera. So moving on to the schedule, week 1 for Arizona. I have the Commanders winning this one. I view it very similar to what's going on with Tampa and with what I'm going to get into with Washington. It's just at this point, it should just be a rebuild. I'm sorry. For me, I think this will be Kyler Murray's final season there. He was Cliff Kingsbury's pick. Cliff Kingsbury, of course, is no longer there, so they're no longer committed to him, even though they gave him the big contract, which I think was a mistake. And I do believe they will try and trade him in the offseason. But I do have the Commanders winning this one, taking full advantage, especially that slowly rebuild defense that the Cardinals have. Especially in the defensive line, losing J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones the last couple of seasons. That's a big pass rush. That's obviously a big void they have on that side. Commanders will win this one, and that's where the winning streaks. That's where the wins are really going to slow down. Week 2, Denver. I have them losing. Just a far superior team, better coaching, better quarterback. Week 3 for Buffalo. Same thing as well. Week 4 for Philly. Once again, losing that one, and going to week 5. This is going to be definitely a interesting game for Chicago, especially with them being fully committed to Justin Fields and making that probably surprising trade, passing on Bryce Young and being committed to him, trading that pick to the Carolina Panthers, getting a tons of picks back, but more importantly, getting DJ Moore in return, getting the best receiver Justin Fields has ever had in his career with Chicago. I do believe Fields will take a big leap forward and probably shock a lot of people this year in his development. And I do have the Chicago Bears winning this one. Moving on to week 6 for Atlanta, I have the Commanders winning this. This is going to be a very interesting matchup with the 2022 quarterbacks going at it with Ritter and Sam Howell. Not a huge fan of either of them. Skill positions, they definitely have great talent on both sides, with Atlanta having Pitts, London, and now B.J. Robinson. And you look at for Washington, the trio of receivers that they have: Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, and Terry McLaurin. Running backs, Robinson Jr. and Antonio Gibson. Definitely great skill positions they have in Washington, but it just for quarterback play, I don't know which one to pick. I'm sorry, I think it's pretty much an even matchup, but I will side with Washington just because of the defense. So looking at the first 6 weeks, that is 2-4. Not horrible. Of course, you were on that 4-game losing streak between the first and second win. I believe this is where it's going to really end. Week 7 with the Giants, I have them losing that one as well. Comes down to just coaching play. I love Brian Daboll. I think he's done an amazing job with Daniel Jones. And for this one, I think he'll just be a more creative genius on that side, trying to pick apart that Washington defense, as opposed to Ron Rivera, who has done a pretty mediocre job, if you want to say, with the Commanders. You could put a ton of blame on Dan Snyder, the former owner, but he is the head coach still, and I think ultimately it's Brian Daboll's a far superior coach than he is, and it really shown this one. Week 8, second matchup for Philly. I have Philly sweeping the series in 2023 in this one. Once again, I mean, you could make the argument for last year when they stole one at Philly and stopped broke their 11-game winning streak. But I think Philly's it's going to be a much different team this year, especially with them having a massive chip on their shoulder, coming up short in the Super Bowl. No doubt they want to get back there and get revenge, potentially in a rematch for this upcoming Super Bowl. I see them sweeping the Washington Commanders. It's an easy game for them. I know it's still a division game nonetheless, but it's one of the easier games they have on their schedule, and they'll sweep that series. Moving on to New England, I will side with New England in this one. Overall, I do like Belichick's team a little bit more, even though we're starting to really question Belichick's greatness post Tom Brady era in New England. I think they'll bounce back and they'll be similar to what they were in 2021 with rookie Mac Jones, making the wild card, being 10-7, at times blowing teams out. If you could look back in the 2021 season, they did blow a few teams out. I think they'll go back to that, especially with Bill O'Brien being the offensive coordinator. This is going to be a win. We're going to take full advantage of that one. And quarterback play, I think I would slightly lean towards Mac Jones right now. Who knows, at this point it might be Jacoby Brissett. But for right now, if we're just assuming Sam Howell, I will slightly give that to Mac Jones. Even though he's not mobile, I think I'll trust him slightly more. Moving on to Week 10 for the Seahawks, just a far superior team. Offensively, I like their trio more than the Commanders. I like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and now newly acquired Jackson Smith-Njigba, who many people believe was the number one wide receiver in this draft class, and him falling to 20 to Seattle. It was a great pickup, and I love the pick right there. Along with Kenneth Walker, the second-round running back they took in from UCLA. And if I think Geno Smith will be playing the same way he did last year, that's already a great offense nonetheless. If you look at, and switching over to the defense side of the ball, especially with Witherspoon taken 5th overall to pair up with Woodland in that secondary with Jamal Adams, who we expect to come back, and Diggs, it's going to be a very tough defense to get through. And for this one, it should be a fairly easy one for the Seahawks. Moving to Week 11 to the Giants, finishing up that series for the 2023 season. I have the Giants winning this one once again. Overall, coming down to the same exact reasons I said for Week 7. Just comes down to coaching, comes down to game plan, and I think I would much rather trust Brian Daboll in this game, especially with how the NFL is going with being offensive minded. Yeah, I'd much rather take that than Ron Rivera. Moving to Dallas, the first game of the year for them, I have Dallas winning this. I know, once again, it's a divisional game, and they could probably take full advantage of this one and steal one, but ultimately, I have Dallas winning this. Especially, looking at the defensive side of the ball, I'd much rather trust Dan Quinn defense. He's done an amazing job since he's been there the last few years. I think Micah Parsons could have a big game. On Twitter, I pinned it in my way too early 2023 awards. I do have Micah Parsons being Defensive Player of the Year. Last year, he was in that conversation, but towards the end, he kind of slowed down, and Nick Bosa won that. I think with Micah Parsons, now it wasn't confirmed that he was switching to defensive end, but I think he'll play a little bit more at that side on that position. I think this will be a game where he'll take over the game and really disrupt that quarterback play and really disrupt the offensive line, no doubt. I have Dallas winning this one. Week 13 for Miami, this should be an easy win for them. Once again, just having elite talent on that side of the ball with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Tua that has really took strides, I think, in his health. He has switched his helmet to the Speed Flex, from the Speed Flex devices too, which is supposed to help with concussions. Along with, I see some photos of him getting, bulking up, which is definitely a good sign, seeing that he was a small quarterback coming out. And when healthy, when he played last year, he really excelled. His best game of his career was against Baltimore when he came back. He threw for over 500 yards and 6 touchdowns, so he has shown that capability. Though towards the end of the season, he kind of fell off a little bit. I do expect him to hit his stride throughout the whole season. And I think ultimately he will be around for the whole season this time. And this should be an easy one for the Miami Dolphins. So now we're at Week 14, 2-11. At this point, no doubt, way before the bye week, Ron Rivera's probably going to be gone. Sam Howell's probably be benched. So you're looking at an interim head coach and probably Jacoby Brissett at this point. But I don't see us getting much better at this point for Week 14. Moving on to Week 15 after the bye week, they're facing the Rams. I have the Rams winning this one, though I will say this will be a close game because of the Rams kind of tearing apart that defense side of the ball, no longer having Von Miller, Floyd, Ramsey. The defense is vastly different compared to how it was in the when they won their Super Bowl. So I could definitely see that being a close game, taking advantage of that side. But I think ultimately it's going to come down to just the offenses who's playing much better in that game. And I no doubt, just like with the rest of a lot of the other games I've mentioned, I much rather trust Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay over whoever the coach may be at that point and whoever the quarterback may be at that point. Probably be Brissett. But even then, I think overall I would trust the Rams slightly in this one. I think they'll pull this one out. The Jets, once again, it should be an easy one. Just an overall better team. And once again, coming down to the quarterback play, rather trust Aaron Rodgers than Sam Howell or Jacoby Brissett. Moving to Week 17, this is going to be a blowout against San Fran. This is going to be one of the easiest games for San Fran and their schedule. And once again, just a much better coaching right there with Kyle Shanahan. Quarterbacks, we do have a question mark with that. If it's going to be Purdy, Sam Darnold, Trey Lance, I think overall they will, all three of them, no matter what, will succeed. And definitely on the defense side of the ball, they are shown, year in, year out with different defensive coordinators. They excel immensely. And you also have the reigning defensive player of the year on that side of the ball with Nick Bosa, and I think he'll have a field day with the Commanders. So wrapping up the 2023 season with the Dallas Cowboys, I have the Cowboys winning this one and sweeping the series. Again, overall, this could be you could make an argument of this could be last year where they, funny enough, Sam Howell did start in the last game in 2022, and he beat Dak Prescott because Prescott was a turnover machine that one. He had, he had 2 interceptions. One I know for the very least was a pick six, and they shocked Dallas in that game. But I think Dallas will be different in this one. In my video for the Cowboys, they were on a losing streak before the Cowboys game. I think they're on a 4-game losing streak, if I'm not mistaken. But once again, Washington should be an easy game for them. I know they're a divisional game, but it should be one of the easier games they have on schedule. So to wrap up the 2023 season for the Commanders, it's going to be a pretty tough one, 2-15. And for this one, they'll most likely be the number 1 overall pick. On the bright side, it's the final year of, if you want to say, the stain of Dan Snyder. Of course, you have the new owners with Josh Harrison, the group alongside it with Matt Johnson and a few other people. This is going to be the final season. I think that kind of has a stain on the franchise, but it will definitely be heading into the right direction with this new ownership and now getting probably Caleb Williams. I mean, I think it's probably safe to say, I haven't looked at the other schedules, but it's safe to say that with this record, Washington will be the first overall pick. So with a new owner, new franchise quarterback, who many people believe is generational, Washington will be on their way up soon. I know it's going to be very tough for the year for 2023. It's going to be a horrible season, but if you can just, I'd much rather take that and get my generational quarterback and potentially go back to the glory days, how they were, especially in the 90s, last time they were really good when they won the Super Bowl against Buffalo. I guess if I wanted to compare this for Washington, compare this to Jacksonville in 2020, where they were both, between them and the Jets were tanking to try and get Trevor Lawrence. Ultimately, the Jaguars did win that, got the first overall pick for Trevor Lawrence, and you see now with the great with the right coach and the great help they surrounded with Trevor Lawrence, they are already a playoff team, and I think soon they can potentially be a Super Bowl caliber team with Trevor Lawrence. He really showed big strides late in the season, and I think this could be a repeat for Washington. They get Caleb Williams. It might be off to a slow start, but ultimately they will be, I believe, one of the top teams in the NFC with Caleb Williams. That's it for the video for the Washington Commanders and wrapping up the NFC East. Let me know your thoughts down below on my predictions for the Commanders. If I was too harsh, if I was just right, let me know down below. With that being said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.